Hey guys, I'm Ian Proulx. I'm the CEO and co-founder of 1047 Games.
Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Chatzinoff and I'm a product manager here at 1047 Games.
And this is our first video recapping our August playtest. And so hopefully this is the first of many playtests to come. And as a reminder, the reason we do these playtests is really we want to test these changes, right? Before we just go out into the wild and make a bunch of drastic changes to the game, we want to get your feedback. You know, we've always been about community and we want to make the best game possible for you. And so this is kind of our way of doing that. It's testing big changes like factions, no factions, time to kill changes, more portals, no rounds, all these different things that we tested. That's really what this is about, is getting your feedback to make sure we can make the game for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't overstate how valuable your feedback is to informing our product design. The design team is constantly looking at feedback on Reddit, looking at our qualitative and quantitative data across our database and surveys. And this really helps us to craft a product that is built actually for the community that we're trying to serve.
So obviously the biggest change in this playtest was the removal of factions, which we'll talk about in a bit. But the first thing I want to talk about is one of my favorite changes, which was the addition of portal walls. Pretty much every single map added portal walls, made some portal walls bigger, added some floor portals, vertical portals, portal jumps. And really our key here was we wanted it to be easier to flow and easier to fly. Two of the maps in particular that we saw a lot of positive feedback on were Frontier and Grit. So on Frontier, we really connected the top floor and the bottom floor with that level portal. We also added a portal jump. We saw a lot of positive feedback of just how you can now get so much more momentum on the map. And Grit in particular was another one that was very well received. It was a little bit more subtle in terms of the number of changes and additions, but each corner on Grit, we removed these walls and added portal walls instead, and it just really helped solve that feeling of claustrophobia.
Academy was another one where we made some significant portal changes. Many of you noticed the portal jumps that we added, and as I played through the map anecdotally during the playtest, I noticed a lot of usage there, and it really added an interesting dimension of verticality to some of the combat engagements, which is really our intention with adding these portal walls, is to add more fluidity and easier traversal through the map, but also so that you have to be concerned about more angles as you're engaging in different types of combat.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like just allowing people to get into that flow state. And part of that is the removal of rounds of like 10 minutes uninterrupted, just go have a good time. But also, you know, within those 10 minutes, just being able to portal, get in that flow state, go from point A to point B to point C, and just kind of continuously move and let the game work the way it should.
Exactly. Zero stagnation.
Yeah.
And as part of our goal for returning to our arena roots, we've brought back a lot of beloved and classic arena modes like Koth, Dom, and TDM in the form of no rounds to sort of add to that pace and fluidity that you often see in arena shooters. And we observed that a lot of you enjoyed those changes, and we're looking forward to continue to iterate on that. The last game mode change we made in the playtest was to split ball. We got rid of the ability to actually portal while you're holding the split ball, and this largely led to a lot of positive outcomes as we observed in the survey and even just anecdotally in some of the games that we played. Rounds didn't end as prematurely, and the pacing and flow felt a lot smoother. And we're going to continue to reevaluate all the modes in our catalog to make sure that we are developing game modes that are fun and fair to play. And it also goes without saying that we want to ensure that we preserve your ability to pick and choose which modes you want to play.
Yeah, and I'll just say I think these two changes in particular are really like a really good first step towards returning to our roots. I'll say I saw a lot of positive feedback and felt it myself of just, this felt like Splitgate for the first time in a while. It didn't feel like, I mean, I love Splitgate too, obviously, and there's things I love about both games, but this really felt like that right step of taking the things we love about the first game, combining it with the things we love about the second game, and putting it together. So we did see a lot of positive feedback about the addition of portal walls and portal jumps, but some of the more constructive feedback we got was frustration around lots of melee one-hit kills from momentum. You know, those are really fun, coming out of a portal jump, flying through the air and hitting people, but not having much audio, getting sort of surprise one-hit. And then obviously with some of these perk combinations that people found that they were able to exploit. So we did see some negative feedback on that, and it's something we want to address. I think there's a few ways we're looking into doing it. Part of it is rebalancing some of the perks potentially. Part of it is also from the audio perspective. Like, we don't want players to be surprised. And so if you see somebody coming through the air, that's one thing you can dodge, right? But if someone's flying through the air behind you, increasing that audio so that you aren't caught off guard. So obviously the biggest change in this playtest was testing the removal of factions. And we're really happy to say people loved it. So we actually saw 3 times as many people said they preferred the game without factions as preferring it with factions. And obviously this is something that has been controversial since our announcement, really, was the addition of factions and everything that comes with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that, our original intention with adding factions was to add more strategic depth to gameplay. And I think it did to some extent, but I think a lot of us observed both internally and our players externally that factions were too restrictive. Previously, in round-based modes, you were locked to a faction for the entirety of that round. So only in between rounds could you actually switch factions. But now, sort of in the spirit of being in a roundless environment and being able to choose whichever faction you want to play at any given moment, you can switch your play style at a moment's notice in the middle of the game. And I think that'll dovetail really nicely with progression because you can basically level up multiple guns more easily within an individual match.
Yeah, I'll just add, you still have to die before you change your loadout.
Of course.
Yeah, you can't just, I think I'm going to switch to my shotgun. Obviously, you got to wait till you die to respawn. And we just saw more usage of different weapons across the board. A lot of players that would originally just stick to the guns within their faction, now we started to see people using different guns.
Yeah.
A lot of Meridian and Arrows players using the Goliath, the fan favorite, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
and it's a really great feeling to be able to showcase this stuff early, right? This is the whole purpose of these playtests, is getting your feedback as we go. So a lot of this stuff is work in progress. Balancing is, of course, going to be all over the place. A lot of things are going to change, but being able to test it early and validate that we're on the right path before we go make too many changes is really rewarding. So we're grateful for our community for showing up to these playtests and giving us their honest feedback.
While the majority of our playtest participants enjoyed the factionless changes, we did actually take the time to read through some of those that found themselves missing abilities from factions. And we thought this was pretty interesting, and we've been tinkering with the idea of potentially turning them into power-ups that work within this factionless ecosystem.
Yeah, and we probably wouldn't just make it one-to-one. I think we've seen a lot of frustration in the past with this Abrask barrier wall in particular. But one thing we're exploring is, could we rework the adrenaline rush into the form of a power-up? Could we rework hypersight, and maybe it's not something that reveals it for your entire team, but reveals enemies through walls for you? And then potentially something along the lines of your classic overshield from Halo, or maybe even a damage boost from Quake, something like that. So we're exploring it. It's still early stages, but it is something that we've heard feedback, and we've seen this idea come up a number of times, of the idea of, could we preserve the abilities in a way that's less frustrating and more like fight over it, just like you'd fight over a power weapon. So we're exploring it. We'll see where we go with it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about time to kill. Time to kill is a tricky one, and this was definitely the most divided from the survey results. Overall, we did see most players did enjoy the new time to kill more than previous, but definitely a lot of mixed opinions. I want to reiterate what our intention of time to kill, of these increases is, which is we've gotten a lot of feedback in the past of not being able to react to a portal flank, right? We want to have this sort of cat and mouse gameplay where you're fighting, you're flanking, you have time to react and pull off cool moves. And we felt that previously having such a short time to kill meant the first player who shoots wins. And that's not the intention of Splitgate. We do want to have those back and forths, but clearly this is a really tricky one, and definitely a divided one.
And we observed a lot of written responses referring to the fact that people's gunfights felt more earned and skillful, which is an indication that we're really heading in the right direction. But it's also worth noting that this is a first pass, right? There are certain weapons in the playtest that I think most of us agree were properly balanced, but then there are a few others that probably are deserving of additional passes to make sure that they are meaningful to the gun ecosystem. Particularly SMGs is one example. I think a lot of people can testify to feeling like they had to get to the bottom of their clip in order to secure a kill, and in some cases had to reload before they could even finish a kill. So that's something that we're definitely going to continue to iterate on and tinker with so we can reach a really balanced state. We just want to say thank you so much again to those who not only participated in the playtest, but just everyone else who's been giving us so much valuable feedback. It truly helps us in trying to figure out what we want this game to be and the vision that we have for relaunch. So please continue to give us feedback on all of our social media channels and we will continue to be open ears.
We're really excited. I mean, this first playtest, hopefully the first of many, it's step one. And we're amped about the feedback we got. It's really validating and rewarding to see that players enjoyed these changes as much as we did. I'll say personally, I played 3 hours straight on Friday, and that was the most fun I've had in Splitgate in a while. And so just really excited. The whole team at 1047 is amped for the future, and we know we've got more work to do, but we're going to keep grinding. So thanks for all the feedback. Keep it coming.
Sabrask. 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 Is that right?
No. Sabrask.
Sabrask. Sabrask.